which holds the blade in place. It actually works on this mechanism. So there's a ball bearing goes inside, and the spring action on this plate against the ball bearing holds, if I can just put my hand on a blade, holds the ball bearing against the hole in the blade, holding it in situ. As a system, it allows rapid blade changing, but the downside of it, compared to the previous system, which was grub screws to hold the blade in place, this breaks so many times you just can't believe. The spring always snaps either at this point or at this point where it's been flexed repeatedly, obviously with the operation of the saw, trying to maintain the pressure on the blade to hold it in place. So to put this spring, to locate this spring, the tang with a little kick on it goes into the hole in there. You'll have to clean the gunge out in order to do it, and the spring then sits there at the back of the unit ready to go. Now this unit is held in place by a little bit of metal. Excuse me. Just retrieve it back from where whence it came. This whole assembly is held in place by this little spring, and yeah. So once you've wound the saw to its extended position, which you can do by if you try and do it with power on, it's just too unwieldy. It's just not accurate enough. So if you just, see if we can get that on shot. So just in here you've got the cooling fan for the motor. If you turn that with a little terminal screwdriver such as this, you can get the blade precisely located in its extended position. Then in the hole in there, if you don't drop it like I've just done, well, juggling ball bearings obviously not my forte, so we can drop that into there, and then we can, by pushing up on there, should be able to get, try it the right way around even. See, so the spring's going in first, so by compressing the spring we should be able to go in over the ball bearing, and the unit is nicely located. That's grand. Now the unit's in situ, we can get this pin refixed through here. So we're going down and in. So the pin goes in at that point, and now holds the entire assembly together. So there you can see the position. Hopefully you can see, the light's a bit poor. Hopefully you can see the position of the spring over the drive shaft and holding the catch and the ball bearing up in place. Now this just got a spring in here from which has just come out, and you can see where it breaks. It's a pretty rubbish design, and the springs are becoming more and more difficult to get hold of. I managed to get 3. You could buy them individually. I purchased 3. That's an idea of what part number I've used. It wasn't actually listed for this saw. This is a DW Delta Whiskey 309L for Lima. That's the model number of the saw, and they weren't listed for that saw. They were listed for something totally different, but they still fit. They fit nice. So now we can get to fit the release lever, the rubber shroud, and the adjustable stop back to the saw. So we'll have a look at that now. Okay, so this is the blade release lever. It has a pivot point here, and presumably, oh yeah, the pivot point, the outside pivot point is on this little H frame. So this will go in that position. The H frame, the pin locates in there, so that will go in there, and two bolts locate in the front. And if we just remove that just for a second, you should be able to see how the lever will act on the spring mechanism to pull that little plate down, releasing the ball bearing and allowing the blade to be removed. So we'll get that in, get that bolted up, and then we'll be back. Okay, so we've now got the 2 fixing screws in place, the blade release lever now functioning. Oh, that's nice. A bit of oil on it might help the situation. And then okay, so this is the bump stop guide, blade length adjuster, kind of whatever you want to call it. Spring in place, well, nearly in place anyway. So we've got to turn that over now and locate it on here, like so. And then the screws can go in behind it, such. A little bit unconventional, flat blade screwdriver and a Torx connector. However, it does have also have a slot for a flat blade, so that's what we're using. So then we go together there, one more to follow. That's lovely. So now we have the operation. So we've got sequential sort of adjustment of the plate, bump stop, or we can remove it. So we'll remove it for now because we need to get the rubber shroud on the front, which is not the easiest task, and then we can get this back in afterwards. So we'll just get a Torx and just knit these up. Alright, so here we have the shroud partially turned outside in. So we'll get this back over now and then have a look. Now this is never easy, so now I've said that, let's hope it is. So we're pretty much up to where we need to be at that point. So we'll now try and pull it out and back over. And do this without losing fingers or causing severe physical damage. Oh dear. Cracking design. Oh dear. Do this without tearing the rubber. Oh, that's better. That's better. A pair of pliers there just to ease the pain. So we now have access to the guide stop release. We can now reinsert the guide stop, and once we get this over where it needs to be, because the catch needs to be obviously on the outside, accessible. There you go. So now get the blade in, and there you go, sorted. So all ready for around about an hour's work before the spring breaks yet again, and we have to go through the same process over and over. Crap, but that's what it is. So all in all, what's that taken? 15 minutes maybe? So when these used to have grub screws through the sides to hold the blade in situ, so much better. So by a country mile it was better. Initially it was thought that this was a superior setup, but quickly proves to be an Achilles heel on this particular unit. Anyway, there we go. Enjoy. Cheers.